for the preview of today's show. Here it is. Pete Carmichael absolutely stinks. We're going to talk about the offensive line. Maybe they go get some help. Is there locker room beef going on with New Orleans, Chris Olave, and a few other players? And then a lot of Saints fans on social media and on the comment section think it might be that time. So here's the preview, but let's reverse the curse, Saints fans. If you're tired of New Orleans losing, hit the thumbs up icon, like this video. If we can get to 500 likes on today's video, I bet the Saints can win their next game. Help us out. Hit that thumbs up icon. Got a mini buy, so let's make it happen. Welcome into Overreaction Friday. The Saints did play on Thursday Night Football. Typically, this would be a Monday video, but we wanted to talk about it because, goodness gracious, there's a lot to talk about, and this is just going to be a therapy session. Quite honestly, last night's loss, it didn't hurt. It was absolutely deflating. It wasn't a loss that I came home from and I walked out of the studio thinking, man, this team almost had it. I'm so upset, or I'm so mad at this player, or I'm so mad at this play, or I'm pissed off at this decision. I came out of the studio and I was like, I'm done. I'm empty. I'm over it. Like, I just felt upset. So therapy session time. Let's get into it. Overreaction number one. It's Curry time. Not Steph Curry, but Ronald Curry. Pete Carmichael's got to go. When the offense was its most efficient, that's when Derek Carr was running the hurry-up offense late in the fourth quarter. It's unacceptable. He finally scored more than 20 points. Still not enough to get it done. The New Orleans Saints have tried to work with Pete Carmichael. I think it's time to just pull the plug on the experiment, admit that you were wrong, and be done here. But Dennis Allen, he did mention that Ronald Curry got to speak to the team during halftime. And when they came back from the locker room, here's what Dennis Allen told the Thursday Night Football reporters. Said it's all about execution. It's like Ronald Curry said in the locker room to the offense. Let's go out there and make plays that we're capable of making. That's what it's about. And I think that the Saints should go ahead and elevate Ronald Curry to your play caller. He's young. He has very high reviews, and people are raving about him in the locker room and within the organization, within the walls at the New Orleans Saints facilities. And quite honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say that making Ronald Curry your play caller is going to fix everything. It may not. But at the end of the day, can it really get worse? I really don't think so. It cannot get any worse than what we're saying. I mean, the Saints right now average less than 20 points a game. And I truly do not believe, it's not less than 20 points a game, but point being, I don't think that the Saints can keep doing this game with Pete Carmichael. You got to make a change. You got to make something happen here. And at the end of the day, make Ronald Curry the play caller. I think that's the best thing you can do to try and salvage something this season and try and make something work, because you're still not out of contention for the playoffs. Believe it or not, the NFC South stinks. So there you go. Maybe you can make something happen. Overreaction number two. We need some help. The offensive line, there's that old video, there's that old meme. He needs some milk. The entire offensive line needs some milk. This line is beat up. They're underperforming. First-round draft picks are getting benched. I mean, it's an absolute joke. And I'm going to get into my overreaction. I'm going to talk about who I think could add some help to this team. But before we get to that, I want to give a very special thank you and a very special shout out to today's presenting sponsor. It's our friends, Prize Picks. So if you are unfamiliar with what Prize Picks is, it's daily fantasy sports. It made easy. You pick two or more players. You choose more or less based on a numerical projection, and it's just you versus the numbers. So head on over to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Desmond Ridder, the projection for him this week, more or less than 209 or 209.5 passing yards. So just let me know. It's your turn to play Prize Picks. Put your projections in the comment section. More or less. And whatever I see the most of, I'm going to go ahead and run with that projection. But once again, guys, I cannot encourage you enough. Just download the app, check it out, plug in a code CLNS, and take advantage of that first deposit match up to $100. One more time, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, so in terms of the injuries, we talked about the offensive line being pretty beat up. So in case you forgot, Trey Turner is on the team. He's in the injured reserve. He got on the injured reserve list. He got placed on IR just days after being signed in the offseason. He had a quad issue. He is no longer able to play this season. I hate to say it. I think if Trey Turner was around, this team would be doing a little bit better, quite honestly. Their offensive line, at least, would be playing a little bit better. But James Hurst, Ryan Ramczyk, and Landon Young all were not able to play yesterday. So the offensive line looks kind of wonky. And let's just say this. Colin Saunders was in a couple separate times to block, whether it was as a fullback, whether it was in on the other line. I mean, he was in a few different times on the offensive side of the ball. So, yeah, the offensive line, it needs some help. I mean, they just straight up do. Andrus Peat put up a 28.5 PFF grade against Jacksonville. That is atrocious. Max Garcia, 70.3. Eric McCoy, 52.0. Cesar Ruiz, 64.6. But hey, silver lining, he had an 87.2 pass block grade. And then Cameron Irving making his first start with the New Orleans Saints, 59.9. As bad as it sounds, wasn't the worst guy on the line. And not to mention, you are not getting production. You're not getting quality play out of your first-round pick from last year in Trevor Penning. The Saints benched him last week. And then after some injuries, Penning found himself back on the field. And quite honestly, Derek Carr needs better protection. And I think that benching Trevor Penning isn't a good idea. I'm not ready to sell on that draft pick yet. I'm not ready to give up on Penning quite yet. He hasn't even had 10 NFL starts. So you got to let him, figure it out. You got to give him those reps. And playing in games and getting real-time snaps at, 100% speed is the only way you're going to get improvement. That being said, La'el Collins is still available in free agency. He had visits with the Jets and the Giants. They did not make a move. So that is actually, something worth talking about. Two teams that are desperate for offensive line help. They didn't want him. They probably saw something they didn't like. So there is definitely something to discuss there. But La'el Collins, I'd rather run with him at left tackle, or I'd rather run it with him at tackle than Andrus Peat and Cam Irving. I'm sorry. La'el Collins is a quality talent. He isn't great anymore. He definitely isn't the player he used to be. However, I do think that with some experience, I do think with being a player like Collins' caliber, I think that it does make some sense to at least make a call. I mean, I'm not saying you have to go and give him a 10-year contract, but give him a call. Bring him in for a season if you really need that help. He has a 73.5 run blocking grade. I mean, there's worse options. There truly are. And there's not a lot of offensive line options available right now in the first place. And unless you want to make a big-time trade for a player, I think La'el Collins is your best option unless you keep figuring it out and just kind of let Derek Carr get beat up every single game. But what say you, Saints fans? Should New Orleans sign La'el Collins? Just give me a simple sign or pass in the comment section. I'm actually pretty excited to see what y'all have to say about this one because I know that it's pretty split. I put it out on Twitter, and a lot of people said yes, a lot of people said no. So it's up to you, comment section. Let me know your thoughts. So, overreaction number 3. Do Derek Carr and Chris Olave have some beef going on? Is there a problem here that we don't know about? Because what in the hell happened last night? What in the hell was going on here? So, if you didn't catch this play, or if you don't know what I'm talking about here, Chris Olave, towards the end of the game, is running down the sideline trying to get a deep shot from Derek Carr, giggity. And Carr way overthrows it out of bounds, completely uncatchable, screaming at Olave, yelling at him, getting furious, getting, pissed off. Like, it was some weird stuff happening. I don't know what was going on. Quite honestly, both parties are to blame, if you ask me. Olave in the postgame, in an interview in the locker room, said, yeah, I guess, you can put that one on me. He's kind of reluctant to say it. It's weird, man. It's really, really weird. And Derek Carr did have something to say about it. He acknowledged the outburst on Thursday Night Football, saying, I have been showing my emotions a little too much on my sleeve. I have got to chill. I've got to kind of chill out. And that's chill out, and that's me holding myself accountable because that's not going to be helping anything. Just trying to be a calming influence in those moments of heightened frustration. I can be that presence to calm everybody down. However, instead of doing that, He was screaming, yelling, and getting absolutely infuriated. I think it's a bad look for the team. It represents poor leadership. It represents poor communication. Quite honestly, it's embarrassing. Derek Carr prides himself on being a great leader, but that was not a good leader moment. That was a very, very weak display of leadership, if you ask me. And whatever the issue is, they got to figure it out, because what happened last night is unacceptable. It's honestly embarrassing, and there's really not much to say. But, I don't want to say, Derek Carr's the only one at fault. Chris Olave also at fault here. Run the right route. He's been kind of lazy. Like, I don't know if it's lazy is the right word, but he seems distracted. Things are kind of weird with Olave. He's not playing well. He's not showing a ton of effort. He's not showing, great route running. He's cutting off his routes early. He's not committed to drawing attention from the DBs. Something's going on here, and I don't really like it, and I'm really nervous about it. And quite honestly, I'm over it. Like, grow up. This is the NFL. The National Football League is not a place to still act like you're playing JV or middle school football. Grow up. Everyone needs to play better. Everyone needs to hold each other accountable. Everyone needs to hold themselves accountable, and everything needs to just keep moving. Because quite honestly, what's going on right now is an absolute meltdown in the locker room, and no, it just ain't going to work. So my last overreaction, it might be that time. It might be J-Bo time, because goodness gracious, Derek Carr has been bad. And the NFC South is also really bad. So I think that at the end of the day, you could still make a run for the postseason. But with Derek Carr's putting this production up, I don't think that's happening. I mean, you struggled against the Bucs like really, really bad. Sure, you beat up on a winless Carolina Panthers team. You beat up on Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. But it's not like Carr had amazing showings for those two games either. He had good showings, but nothing crazy. And I'm going to be honest, I've always been saying stick with Carr. But the whole start Jameis argument, I'm starting to not necessarily be sold out on that. And I do think that the smart move is to keep Carr in at quarterback and to just force this thing to work and, grind your teeth, nose to the grindstone, make it happen kind of thing. But, I also do believe that if you put in a guy like Jameis Winston, he has that locker room won over. They're going to play their hearts out for him. I don't necessarily know if they're going to do that with Derek Carr after what's been going on these past couple of games. I love Jameis Winston. I think he's an awesome quarterback. He's definitely a lot of fun to have on your team. And by awesome quarterback, I don't mean he's like an amazing top 10, future Hall of Fame guy. Absolutely not. But he's an interesting guy nonetheless. He's entertaining. He keeps the morale, and he keeps the locker room energy high. And Derek Carr even said it himself. Jameis is a starting quarterback in this league. So, J-Bo, if you get the call, you got some doubters that you got to prove wrong, and you also have some people that you got to prove right. But I want you guys to let me know. I'm going to keep rolling with Derek Carr maybe for a few more weeks, but let me know. Pick a quarterback. Type DC for Derek Carr. Type JW for Jameis Winston. And as always, Saints fans, I appreciate you for hanging out with us and making us a part of your day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to all 35,000 plus members of the Who Dat Nation who tuned into our watch party yesterday. Hit me up on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at TraceGerard48. Y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time.